maybe I should ask for a lot of money and give the money to charity. Does that make sense? I don't know. All to charity, all to charity. And I said that to the writers at Time Magazine. They were nice enough to put me on the cover with actually a nice story. And I said, you know, and I sort of thought I said it off the record, but they put it in Time Magazine. So maybe should I ask for charity? Maybe a nice Nashville charity and American Cancer Society and AIDS research and there's so many good Alzheimer's, you know, there's so many things going on there. Maybe I should ask for a lot of money or I'm not showing up. Because, you know, it's interesting. So they'll get, let's say, 2 million people, 1 million to 2 million people at the debates. You know, they've been doing them for a long time. They don't do great, especially the early Republican debate. Like, you know the expression, it draws flies. That's what it draws. So this was one of the biggest shows in the history of cable television. I think it might have been the biggest in terms of political, in the history of cable television. So I took full credit for it, which in all fairness I should. So bottom line is I think I might ask for a lot of money for charity, but, you know, but I did say, but is it a little hokey if I do that? Maybe it's not so nice. So what do you think? Should I do it or not? Maybe not. I don't. Here's the thing. If I don't do it, CNN just makes a lot of money. I don't care about CNN. Honestly. No, they're going to make a lot of money. They just turned off their camera. They're actually very nice. But they're going to make a lot of money, and, I think it's something we should consider. So we'll all consider it together. But coming over today, I saw that they were having the illegal immigrants come in, and somebody mentioned the term, the dreamers, having to do with children and, you know, the dreams of children. And these are people that come over the country, the dreamers. And I said, what about our children? Why can't our children that are in the country, why can't they be the dreamers? Nobody ever talks about that. No, nobody ever talks about that. You know, we talk about the dreamers, we talk about illegal immigrants, who, by the way, are treated better than our vets. You know, our vets are incredible. No, the illegal immigrants in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases are treated better than our veterans, who are the greatest people we have. Our wounded warriors these are the greatest people we have. And another thing nice about being able to make speeches without having to hire some guy to write it and keep writing it and read it and put a teleprompter and then say, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of Nashville, it's wonderful, you know. Is that I can sort of be very current, okay? I can be very, very current. I can talk about what's happening. This morning on the television, they had a whole story about the Veterans Administration and the hospitals, how people are waiting on lines to get in. These are our veterans. These are the people that got hurt fighting for us. Maybe we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, to be honest with you. I mean, that's possible, too. And they had a story this morning on Fox, on CNN, and a number of them, where the veterans are just treated terribly. And they showed a desk where there's supposed to be people behind the desk. And they showed this desk, and there's nobody there. And the veterans, I don't know, probably some of you saw it. The veterans are saying, where are the people? And then they said, what happened? And they said, oh, this happens all the time. There was nobody even there. And 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, they had the longest wait in the history of the Veterans Administration for people wanting to see a doctor. Now, if I go to a doctor, if I have to wait like 9 minutes, I'm like, get me. I go crazy. It's true. Remember the old days when the doctors used to come to your house, right? Beta remembers that. You'd have a cold, the doctor would come over carrying a little bag, like this big, beautiful little bag, being at the top, and he'd come over to your house, check you out, fine. Those days don't exist anymore. You know, we're in the age of Obamacare when nothing exists. By the way, we will repeal and replace Obamacare. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. But, so, 2 weeks ago Wednesday, the longest wait in the history of the Veterans Administration, so that if you go to a doctor's office, men and women are waiting 4 days, 3 days, one was 5 days. One case was 5 days or 6 days, finally got to see the doctor, and the doctor excused himself because he was going on vacation. Now, you think about that. Can you imagine waiting even a day or a half a day? But these people are waiting 4 or 5 days. So the waits now are the longest in history, and that's the way we're treating our greatest people, and it's not right, and we're going to change that. We're going to change it. We have right now, and people don't know this, you know, they see these phony statistics put out by politicians, basically. All talk, no action politicians. And I mean on both sides, in all fairness. You know, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative. But I'm just as angry with the Republicans because they go to Washington, something happens. They become weak. They go to Washington, we're going to stop Obamacare, we're going to stop this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then they walk into these magnificent buildings with those incredible vaulted ceilings. And they go, oh, I made it, darling. I made it. I vote for you. I vote for you. I vote for Obamacare extensions. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'm in Washington. It's amazing. Isn't it amazing? Don't you agree? I mean, it won't happen to me. I promise. And if it does, you're going to let me know about it. But it won't. I promise. I promise. But, you know, they show those phony statistics where we're 5.4% unemployment, 5.4. The real number, you know, I actually saw a number, it could be 42%. Okay, believe it or not. But when you think about it, we have 93 million people that are right now out of the labor force. 93 million people. Of the 93, many of these people want jobs. And they quit looking. So if you're looking for a job and you can't find it, and you stop for a while, you know, after a while, you sort of like, it's not happening. It's not going to happen. I don't know what they do, but they stop. They are considered statistically employed, okay? So we have 93 million people out of the labor force. I mean, think of it. It's hard to believe. We have 50 million people in poverty. These are very new numbers. 50 million people in poverty. I mean, China's taking our money. Japan's taking our money. Mexico's beating us at the border and on trade. By the way, they're killing us on trade. You know that. In fact, you just lost a big car plant to Mexico in Tennessee. Remember? Recently. Front page, Wall Street Journal. A plant that you were going to have. I love this guy. You know, he's sitting there holding a stand up. Turn around, show him. I love this guy. He's just holding the sign up. Look at him. Well, I know who he's voting for. I know who that guy's voting for, right? Thank you. That's very cute. I mean, I love it. You know, this is a movement, folks. This is not like even maybe about me. I don't want it to be about me. This is about common sense. It's about doing the right thing. One of the things that came out in the poll, which was really amazing, some of the polls, I mean, hey, in Iowa, we're leading big. Those are great people. We just left Iowa. We had such an amazing evening. 4,000 people in a room that never had that many people, and it was a happening. We just left Alabama, which was unbelievable. 31,000 people in a stadium, and it was supposed to pour. And it did. It poured. The minute my speech, that's like luck. That's from God. The minute the speech was over, we got it, and it poured. We had 31,000 people. It was the most unbelievable. And the poll just came out in Alabama, leading big in Alabama, leading big in Iowa, leading tremendously big in New Hampshire. Great people. Leading really big in New Hampshire. Leading big in Florida. How about Florida? I have a governor. We have a low-energy governor, and we have a senator. And we're leading big in Florida. How do you do that? When you have a senator who's sitting, you have a governor who's been there for 8 years, and Trump, I love Florida, and I'm there a lot. What can beat Florida? Great weather. You have great weather, but Florida has great weather. Big advantage. But, you know, I'm leading big in Florida. But one of the polls came out, because in South Carolina and North Carolina, I'm leading really big. And in South Carolina, a poll came out, and we had a statement that my level of popularity or favorability, you know, I'm the only one that can get a poll, and it comes out, and these guys in the back with all those red lights on will say, I had one poll where I think I'm 41%, almost 41%. They grab us. Can you imagine? 41, and there's 17 people. So I'm at 41% with 17 people, and they said, Trump's at 41%, but they're saying like, blah, blah. You can't even hear it. You know, Trump said, blah. Nobody knows what they just said. But there are some people that don't like him. It's unbelievable. I'm the only one that wins these polls and I get negative publicity. It's the most, no, it's incredible. The press, ay, ay, ay. No, it's terrible. Well, yesterday, you might have seen me. I was in South Carolina, made a speech, and I had to bring it up. The New York Times, to me, is a big deal. You know, I'm from New York, very liberal paper, but that's okay. You know, not everybody can be like us. But it's still the New York Times, right? We have to admit, still the New York Times. And I'm on the front page a lot on the New York Times. And to be on the front page of the New York Times is a big deal. But yesterday, or 2 days ago, they had a story about me, and they have some low-level Hispanic commentator, low-level guy. This one didn't like me. By the way, I think I'm going to win the Hispanic vote, and I think, you know, in Nevada, I won the Hispanic poll. They love me. I love the Hispanic people. Incredible energy, incredible people. I love the people. I have so many, I have thousands that work for me and thousands over the years that have worked for me. They're great people. And I said, I'm going to win. And a lot of the Hispanics that are here legally, they don't want people coming in illegally. You know, it's true. It's true. So there's this poll that comes out. I think it was in South Carolina where we're way up. And Lindsey Graham's at 4, and he's the senator. I'm at 30. So I wrote him a note. Congratulations. I'm only beating you in your home state by 26 points. So anyway, who cares? But they did something that nobody reported. They say, oh, but do people like Trump? By the way, this election is not going to be like, I think I'm a nice person. I love people. I want to help people. Women's health issues to me are very important. To Jeb Bush, it wasn't important because he didn't want to fund them. And then he said, oh, I misspoke. But, you know, I really want to be a nice person. I am a nice person. But I think it's actually going to be an election based on competence. We're tired of being like the patsy for everybody. I really do. I think it's time. But in the poll, this was the Monmouth poll, big poll, highly, in another act of political magic, I don't know what's magic, Trump managed to flip his favorability rating from negative, nobody wrote this, by the way, and nobody said it, nobody reported it, from negative to positive. This is an exact quote. I have like this photographic memory, so I don't need, but I want to be sure because if I use the word the incorrectly, they'll say he didn't. Favorability rating from negative to positive in one poll during the span of a month, a feat that Monmouth University's Patrick Murray, highly respected pollster, called astounding. Called it astounding. Nobody else wrote about it. That defies any rule in presidential politics that I've ever seen, said this highly respected man. Murray, the director of polling Institute, said. He flipped it from 20% to 52% in 1 month. And he said he's never seen that before. And you know what? That's because people have heard me. And they say such a nice person. No, they say he's a man. I've made a tremendous amount of money. I've had tremendous success. And I don't say that braggingly. That's the kind of thinking we need in the country. I mean, whatever it is. But to me, that statement was more important than actually literally killing everybody in the poll. We were much, much higher than more than double everybody. And we are more than double everybody. You saw Quinnipiac just came out, and that was an amazing poll. That was the same thing, much, much higher, double and triple and quadruple many of these candidates. And the reason is people in this country are smart. They don't believe a lot of what they see in the media, because if you believe these people, you know, why are they doing this? I mean, why are they even saying it? You'd think that if somebody's good for the country, and I'll be great for the country, because I'm going to make great deals for our country. We don't win anymore. Our country doesn't win anymore. You'd think if somebody's even a liberal person or a Democrat liberal, and I mean really liberal, if somebody's going to make the country, why are they knocking it? Why are they knocking it? Why do they fight? You'd think they'd say, let's do it. It's good. It's good for all of us. because our country's in trouble. We owe now $19 trillion. You know, I've been saying 18 for a while. But now it starts to go up quickly. And by the way, when Obamacare kicks in, which is really kicking in 16, you want to see bad deficits? You want to see it go up? You're going to really see it go up because that has a huge negative impact, not only on jobs, but on the deficit itself because of the cost. And it's no good. Have you been noticing, and you've seen it yourself, the premiums have gone through the roof, right? The deductibility, unless you're close to death, you're never going to use it. You can't use it because the deductibilities, it's so high. But the premiums are up 30, 40, and 50% and more. It's a disaster. And on top of that, it's going to cost the country a fortune. So it's not only costing you a lot of money, it's going to cost the country a fortune. So we have to do something about it. And we have to do something importantly about it. But when I see the people on television, and I have to tell you, I won't mention names. Some of them, when they hear my name, I was talking, we have a great reporter today from the Wall Street Journal with us, okay, who came down. And she actually said, you know, some of them, when they hear your name, it looks like they're a boiler ready to explode. It's true. Just, Now, number one, they look bad because they said, do you remember the beginning? Like 3-4 months ago, they'd say, he's a clown. He's a clown, just having fun. You know, I went to a great school. I did great. Everything was great. I came out, I made a fortune, which I want to use the brain for you, but I made a fortune. I then did a book called The Art of the Deal and many bestsellers. The Art of the Deal being probably the best-selling business book of all time. Who has read The Art of the Deal? Yeah, most people. Almost everybody. And I jokingly say, but I mean it, the Bible tops it by a long way. I say that. Said it the first time the other night in Iowa, and people like that, but it's true. Nothing tops the Bible. But The Art of the Deal, great success. Many books, bestsellers, many bestsellers. Then I do The Apprentice. I've never done television. I do The Apprentice. It's one of the most successful shows ever on television, by the way. And NBC renewed The Apprentice. You know that, right? For me. They came up to my office, the head of Comcast, great guy. I won't use names, just say Steve. Honestly, he's a great guy. One of the best in the country. He came up with the heads of NBC. And they said, 6 months ago, they said, Donald, we're renewing The Apprentice. Please, you have to do it. I said, honestly, Steve, I'm running for president. I want to make our country great again. I want to make it. And they didn't believe me. And I said it 4 times. They didn't believe me. Nobody believed I was going to run. Nobody. My wife didn't even believe me, but now she does. But she actually said, if you actually say you're going to run, you're going to do great because people like you. She actually said they love you, but I don't want to brag. But she said, if you actually run, not, you may run, you may not run, who knows. Thank you. But she said, if you actually say, so the NBC guys come up, terrific people. I mean, honestly, I had a great relationship with NBC for 12 years. We had many, number ones and The Apprentice, and continues to do great. Last season, you know how well it did. So they wanted to renew for many shows. In fact, Mark Burnett called up. Mark Burnett did Survivor, Apprentice. So Mark Burnett, who's a great guy, he calls up, he goes, I don't believe it. You're not taking a renewal. The word is renewal. I said, that's right, Mark. I'm going to run for president. No, you have to. Nobody doesn't take a renewal. It's unheard of in primetime television. 2 hours. Prime time. Are you crazy? I said, Mark, I have to do this. I've done so well in this country. I have to do it. We can save our country. We can save our country. Well, thank you. The funny thing about The Apprentice, there have been 15 copies of The Apprentice. Every single one of them failed. So then a reporter said to me, why do you think that is? I said, because I'm special. And I was kidding. I was doing it sarcastically. I mean, I sort of meant it, to be honest, right? But I was sort of kidding. And they wrote it, and I hated the way it looked in writing. It sounds good when you say it, but, it looks so bad. Okay. But so I had a great experience. So here I am. Great schools, great brain, great success, build a great company, do The Apprentice, tremendous success. When I did The Apprentice, a certain critic said, it will never be successful. Because, you know, to have a big hit, a number one hit, you have to, and you remember that first season had one of the highest ratings ever. The finale of The Apprentice, oh, you remember with the great Bill Rancic, and remember how that was? Incredible. But to have a great success, you have to have women. And I'll never forget, I saved the article, right? Like Harry Truman saved it, where it said Truman loses, and he actually won, remember? But I saved this article. They said, Trump can never succeed on television because why would women want to watch Donald Trump? And I said, am I so bad? Am I so bad? Tell me, am I so bad? And it turned out that women were the biggest base. I mean, those were the ones that liked that. So, you know, I saved those things. But no matter how you cut it, we can do something so incredible. And honestly, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of time. I wouldn't leave the White House. You know, Obama always leaves the White House. Think of it. You're elected president. You're in the White House. Why would you want to leave? I think I'd maybe never leave. How cool is it? He leaves to go to some place and go fundraisers. I'd try. I don't know. Maybe there's some rule against it, so maybe I can't. But I'd do the fundraisers in the White House. He and his wife left. I think one was doing the Ellen show. Another was doing another show. Right next door in Burbank, California. They left a couple of hours difference. One took Air Force One. One took a beautiful Boeing 757. Two planes, a little bit different timing, going to the same location, going to the same airport to do two different shows. And I say, why? Why aren't they flying on at least the same plane? Now, I know what those suckers cost because I happen to have one of them, right? So I know what it costs to operate these planes. So I would have said much different. More important, the time and the energy. But I would have said Ellen, or I would have said whoever's doing the show, let's do it from the White House. This way I take a half an hour, I go back, I don't spend any money of the taxpayers. Think of it. No, think of it. Think of it. And you know, the funny thing is that whoever the host is would like it better. We're doing our show live from the White House or something. So we don't pay any money. We don't have to fuel up Air Force One, which costs you. Do you ever see what it costs to travel in these things? With hundreds and hundreds of securities, and you're closing down Burbank, California. I mean, every time Obama comes to Manhattan to do a fundraiser, which is often, I say, what's going on? You can't move. They close down all the streets. They close down the city. And he could do it from, like, Washington. In fact, he could do it in my new hotel that I'm buying, which is only a couple of blocks. You know, I'm building, it's true. I'm building this incredible hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue, and it's going to be incredible, the old post office. And I actually got it from the Obama administration, which is hard to, but people are saying, what's going on? How did Trump get it? One of the most heavily sought after buildings in the history of the General Services Administration, which owned it. You know, they're the ones that made the decision. And I got it, and we're building this phenomenal hotel, Trump International Hotel, right on Pennsylvania Avenue, directly between Congress and the White House, right? It's going to open just in time. Just in time. And by the way, listen to this one. We're under budget and ahead of schedule. Do you ever hear that from government? Way under budget. So we're actually going to be opening it, but it'll be great. But he can use my hotel. I'd let him use it free. You just come in, use it, go back to the White House. But you don't have to do that. But you say to yourself, why? You know, it's a mindset. But more importantly, even than the travel, we have so many things we have to do to straighten out our country. You don't want to waste time. You got to do this. You got to make deals. I've got the greatest deal makers in the world lined up to make deals for us. Carl Icahn, incredible guy, right? Incredible guy, great deal maker. I've got some of the best deal makers in the world. They're all calling me, too. You said, you didn't ask me. I have these guys calling me up, the best in the world. Now, I know the best. I also know guys that are overrated. I know guys that you haven't heard of that honestly are phenomenal. I know a lot that you have heard of that aren't really that good, that are overrated, in my opinion. But I have the best in the world, and they're calling me. They don't want money. They're worth billions of dollars. But when I put, let's say, Carl Icahn in, I'll say, Carl, do me a favor, handle China. We're going to make a great deal. No, we're going to make a great deal. Because that's what happens. You know, that's what happens. So we're going to take back our trade. If you look at China, if you look at Japan, I was in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, I saw ships, the biggest ships I've ever seen, with cars pouring out, one after another, made in Japan, very nice, everything's nice. Except it doesn't help us. Where does it help us? Where does it help us? We sell them beef. And then they don't want it because, you know, do you ever see what's going on over there? We sell the beef, it goes over there, and it's very perishable. So by the time it gets over there, then they turn it around. We don't want it. And they have cars coming from these massive, massive ships. Massive. And they just pour off the ships. I say, what are we doing? How stupid are we? No tax, no nothing. And I'm a free trader. I believe in free trade. You don't have to say it. But I have to be fair trade. When you look at Japan, they take in money up here, and we give them money down here. We give nothing by comparison. It's like peanuts. Balance it out, fellas. You know, balance it out. You got to balance it. A friend of mine is a great manufacturer. As you know, China it's probably the greatest theft in the history of the United States, what China's done to us. They've taken our money, they've taken our jobs, they've taken everything. They've taken so much. And they're creating a bubble. And, you know, interestingly, we're so intertwined now the bubble could take us down. So good. They're so good. And, you know, one of the things I'm doing, and last night was incredible. We had an amazing event in Massachusetts. A guy, right? Oh, look at this. We have a win. What the hell are you doing in Nashville? What are you doing? What is that? I must have brought those people with me. What are you doing here? This is like old home week. Anyway, so here I am. I spent millions of dollars during the course on jet fuel, okay? Like a lot of money on jets. But somebody puts up a sign, $100 to go to this thing. I didn't know who did it, but somebody puts up a sign. So all over the place, I'm spending millions of dollars. I'm turning down millions. I don't want your money. I don't want your money. Somebody puts a sign up talking about a $100 contribution, of which you didn't have to make. But they put it up. It's all over CNN. Trump is asking for $100. I fly my plane someplace. It costs me a fortune. The fuel. The $100, the money that I raised last night, which doesn't go, it goes toward paying off like the expense or something. The guy that had it's this great guy, Ernie, a great guy, really successful guy. You know him, right? Ernie. He'll sell you a car any day of the week, right? And, you know, the guy is, like 2,000 people showed up. Let him get a little deferment of the roast beef or whatever the hell they're serving. So they put up a sign. I don't want the money. I might like 4 or 5 million. That's hard to turn down. But the $100 times, you know, some people, and we let the vets in, we let this, most of the people I think came in free. And I end up with this big story, Trump accepting contributions. I can't believe it. I got so angry at my people because somebody put up a sign saying $100. And honestly, it's like, first of all, it's peanuts. It doesn't mean anything. But they used it to try and marginalize. They always do. They always do. The bottom line is, I am self-funding my campaign. I'm self-funding. I don't want to have anybody give. I don't need money. Now, with that being said, the small money comes in, and it's not a lot of money, but it's great money. Like Beta might send me some money. Beta will send me some money. But a woman sent me $7 with a beautiful letter from Georgia. Another person sent me $12, and small money. And some sent me $1,000. But it doesn't amount to a lot. But that I do like coming in because they invest in the campaign. How do I take the $7 check, right, and send it back to the person who sent it to me from Georgia? Dear so-and-so, I'm sorry, I don't really want your money. How do you write a letter like I want them to invest in it. But, you know, they're not going to tell me not to do this or not to do that for China because there are lobbyists for China and they gave me $5 million. I had a big lobbyist ask me to have, he wanted to give me $5 million for my campaign. I turned him down. I turned him down. And then I see this story on CNN last night. It was disgusting. That, look, there's a sign, $100. Somebody does a sign. It was actually a beautiful sign, if you want to know the truth. It was so beautiful. It was beautifully done. And they're doing this big thing about all day long last night about I said, we had this incredible event, and they destroyed it by trying to marginalize. And that's the press. That's the media. Yeah, well, the criminal media. I mean, there's truth to it. No, because a lot of times they know it's wrong. But I just want to tell you, so important to me. And last night was such an incredible event. It had to be a record for a house. The guy has got a beautiful house, got a big lawn, put up a tent. But we had 2,000 people. It had to be a record. The spirit in that group, the spirit in Alabama, the spirit was so incredible. The spirit in our last meeting in Iowa. Don't forget, when I went to Iowa, and you know what I love? I'm leading with Tea Party. Big. I love Tea Party. I love the Tea Party. Tea Party people, stand up and take a bow. You have not been treated fairly. No, you haven't been treated fairly. You have not been treated fairly. You know, people talk about the Tea Party, and you talk about marginalizing. At least I have a microphone where I can fight back. You people don't. The Tea Party people are incredible people. These are people that work hard, and they love the country, and then they get just beat up all the time by the media. It's disgusting. And you will be surprised how big you are. You don't know how big you are. You don't know the power. Pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do you have to do that for? Every week they come out with a new poll. Right? Hey, I'm rich. I could hire 100 polls. I don't want to waste money, you know? Why should I pay? I know in one case the guys want like $150,000 a month. And you know, then they're arrogant guys, they think they're hot stuff, and they tell the candidate what to say. You got to say this. Got to be politically correct. No way. I don't have time to be politically. No, it's true. It's true. I don't have time to be political. It takes a lot of time to be politically correct. You saw the anchor baby thing. Did you see that with where I'm on? And somebody from it's the same network, CNN again. He said, you know the name anchor baby is very insulting. I said, what would you call him? And he gave me like too long. It's anchor baby. And then Jeb Bush gets caught because he is such a nice person, honest. If you want a nice person, honestly, you should vote for Jeb. The country's going to go to hell, but we won't talk about it. No, but if you want a nice person. So Jeb has a memo that he signed. Basically a politically correct memo. You know, don't say this, don't say that. They have all these things, pages of stuff. But one of the things, never use the term anchor baby. So all of a sudden he's using the term anchor baby this last week. And with me, when I use it, nobody criticizes me. They expect me. They gave up. Okay. With him, they killed him. They just killed him. It didn't stop. And then he blamed it on the Asians. He said, you know, did you see that? I want to build a wall. Okay? So easy. It's so easy. When this clown, Jose Reyes or whatever the hell his name, no, he's a baseball player. Ramos. Actually, Jose Reyes is a baseball player. He's a nice baseball player. But when Ramos got up the other day, screaming and ranting and going crazy, and I had all these reporters. Actually, the reporters were mostly on my side because they all had their hand up, and this guy starts screaming. So I even had liberal people from CBS. I actually said to the CBS guy, yes, and this guy stands up and starts screaming. So and I actually got a lot of credit for the way we handled him. I didn't do anything except for the Times. And that's what I alluded to before. The Times said Donald Trump railed at him and screamed at him. I didn't scream at him, but he was screaming at me. And much worse than that, they said I wore a toupee. Can you believe it? I don't wear a toupee. And I proved I won't bring anybody up I won't bring anybody up, but I don't. But think of it. I'm on the front page of the New York Times, and the first sentence in the first paragraph has this announcer, Hispanic announcer that nobody ever heard of, saying they call him something, which means he wears a toupee. And I don't. So I'm on the front page of the New York Times. I can't even talk about it. I'm embarrassed to talk about it. But they also said I was essentially screaming at this guy from Univision, who I happen to be suing for $500 million. They didn't mention it. They also didn't mention that his daughter works for Hillary Clinton. Do you know that? His daughter works for Hillary Clinton. Oh, you didn't know that? Ah. No, they didn't mention that. No. They said I wear a toupee and I was screaming, but they didn't. No, he's screaming at me. So we very nicely wished him out. And then we let him come back, and we actually had a nice talk. He actually seemed like a nice guy after he calmed down a little bit. You know, he's a very emotional man. But he said, you can't build a wall because you can't do it. So 2,000 years ago in China, we always get back to China, right? 2,000 years ago, the Great Wall of China. Oh, would we like to have a wall? This is a serious wall, okay? This is a wall you don't go through so easy. They built a wall 2,000 years ago. That's 13,000 miles. Think of that. That's a big wall. That's a serious wall, right? This was 2,000 years ago. I mean, it took them like 500 years to build it, so, you know, I got to be a little bit, it took a long time. But 13,000 miles, that's a long time. They had no tractors. They didn't have Caterpillars. Of course, today we'd use Komatsus because they're made in Japan. You can buy them cheaper. See? How stupid is that? Because they devalue the yen so much that people are buying Komatsus instead of Caterpillars. Caterpillar stock is that. It's terrible. We'll change that around, believe me. Believe me. But they build this wall. Now we have really 15, I would say, look, we have 2,000 miles as opposed to 13,000. But you don't need it on all of it because some you have natural landscaping, some you have a lot of places. And actually, 10 years ago, everybody wanted the wall built. Hillary wanted it built. But they couldn't. I'm a great builder. What I do is best is build. I'm not a rendering guy. I do the building and then do the rendering. A lot of these guys come in with renderings and it never gets built. Does that make sense to anybody? A female, a veteran, 66, got raped, sodomized, tortured, and killed. Raped, sodomized, tortured, and killed. 66 years old by an illegal immigrant that they caught. Luckily. But this is what we have. We have stupid people in our government. And we have people pouring across the border. And you know what? We have great Border Patrol people. I went there. You probably saw that. That's why the hat is so successful, the white one, right? But I went there. Everybody wants to buy the hat. Now they like the white one. Then 2 weeks later, I wore the red one. The white one didn't sell so well. The red one sold. Crazy thing. But I went to the border. And I got to know the people, and I saw people, and, you know, it's rough stuff. It's rough stuff. And when I first came in, and when I first did my opening statement that I was running for president, I talked about illegal immigration. I was killed by the president. Rush Limbaugh, who I think is a terrific guy, said, Trump has received more incoming than any human being I've ever seen. Then he goes, has a news conference, and I think he's going to apologize, and he doubles down. I got credit for it. I got credit. No, they thought I was going to apologize. And I don't mind apologizing, but I have to make a mistake to apologize. And I was right. No, but I was right. So for 2 weeks, as Rush said, I took incoming meaning the media. In fact, that was my first 2 weeks. I said, is it going to be like this for the next year and a half? I don't know if I can make it. It was brutal. Now, many of those people that talk that way, many of those people, they apologize to me. Everybody says I'm right. And only because of me is everybody talking about illegal immigration. They wouldn't even be talking about it. They wouldn't even be talking about it. And we're going to build a wall, and we're going to get, you know, the gang members in Baltimore and Chicago, and these are some tough dudes. They're going to be out so fast. One of the first things I'm going to do is get rid of those gang members. We're going to be, you know, you look at what's going on with Baltimore. You look at what's going on in Chicago and Ferguson and St. Louis the other night. We are going to get rid of those gang members so fast your head will spin. You know, we can be really tough. I just met your cops outside. Those police are tough cookies. Those guys, we need law and order. We need law and order. I mean, they allowed, in one night, that first night in Baltimore, they allowed that city to be destroyed. They set it back 35 years, one night, because the police were not allowed to protect people. They weren't allowed to protect people. We have incredible law enforcement in this country, and we have to be. The head of the police in Chicago is a person I know, originally from New York. He's a phenomenal guy. He can stop things if they're allowed to stop them. He can stop it. Believe me. We have some incredible people, but we have to be tough. We have to be smart, you know. And I know you're going to have some bad apples. You're going to have problems. I see some of the things you did too, and it's disgusting and it's horrible. But that's such a tiny percentage. The problem is the good work doesn't get shown on television. All of the good work, which is 99.9%. I mean, the good work with the police, it's 99.9%. That one little thing, and it's horrible. I agree. I hated some of the things. I don't have to go into them. But you know the same ones, because you were sick when you looked at some of them just like I was. But we need law and order. We need our police. They're great people. They do a phenomenal job. They're right now afraid to do anything. They're afraid. I mean, I know cities, I won't mention names, but I know cities where police are afraid to even talk to people because they want to be able to retire and have their pension. They don't want to be thrown off the police force. And then you wonder why there's crime in our cities. So we need a whole new mindset. We have to build up our military. We have to make our military so strong. We have to make our military so powerful and so strong that we never have to use it. We never have to use it. We have to also focus on what we have. Look, Ukraine. I want Ukraine to be healthy, vibrant, and good. But Ukraine is near Germany and all of these European countries. We're now sending F-22s. That's the newest fighter, the best in the world. We're sending fighters every. Where is Germany? Where are all these European countries? It affects them. It affects them. And we want to stand alongside of them, I agree. But why are we leading the fight? Putin hates us. He hates Obama. Doesn't hate us. I think he'd like me. I'd get along great with him, I think. Want to know the truth. No, he has no respect for our president, and our president doesn't like him in all fairness. They don't have good chemistry, to put it mildly, would you say? But I'd get along with these people. Think of it. Every country is ripping us off. Now Russia's ripping us off because in the Iran deal, which is going to go down as one of the worst deals ever, Russia is a big beneficiary because they're going to sell Iran missiles with the money we give to Iran. Think of that. So one of the biggest beneficiaries is Russia. Okay? But think of it. So, Ukraine, let's take a few of these things, and then I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going back to New York. Do you mind? Maybe I'll go to the Grand Ole Opry tonight. Can I do that? I'd actually rather. By the way, this is not a politician speaking, believe me. I hope. I love country music. I love it. Hey, Trace Atkins, right? And who else won on The Apprentice? Who else? John Rich. My kids love those two guys. John Rich. And who else? Who did really well? Clint Black, right? Clint Black, he did great. And my Trace, how good is Trace, okay? You know, Trace came on to The Apprentice. And no, I said, who the hell is he? Who is he? I didn't know who Trace was. I never heard of him. And he wasn't a big name. And he came on just to show you how important that show was. And his record or album or whatever you call it nowadays, you know, it used to be records and albums and this, now you call it. But whatever it was, it went to #1. And then he came to me the next year, and he came in second, and he came in first. He did it twice. And by the way, he's a fantastic guy. So is John. So is Clint. These are great people. These are great people. But Trace came to me, and he goes, you know, a certain award show, I won't mention the name, but he said, you know, last year I couldn't get into the show, and this year I'm hosting it, Mr. Trump, all because of you. Nice, right? No, nice. But those three guys, they're great, and they're just fantastic people. But we've got to make our country so strong. We have to make our country rich again. A person came up and said, oh, that's not nice. What's not nice? They said, rich. You know, to say we're going to make our country rich. We can't make our country great if we're going to be poor. We're a debtor nation. We owe $19 trillion. China, think of this. China, we owe $1.4 trillion to. So they come in, they take our jobs, they take our money, they take our base, they take our manufacturing, and we owe them $1.4 trillion. How do you do that? That's like a magic act, right? It's true. Japan sells us cars by the millions. They make a fortune. They come in, they sell us cars by the millions. And we owe them the exact same amount. We owe them $1.4 trillion. How come if they're selling us cars, we owe them money? Think of it. Put on your business. See, I have a natural instinct for this stuff, you know, right? If we buy all these cars, why do we owe them money? But we owe them because they take all that money that they make and they buy our bonds, and we're paying interest on them, and we owe them money. So it'll change. It can change. It's not even going to be hard. We have the cards. People don't realize. See, Obama never read The Art of the Deal. People don't realize. Oh, and somebody said, it was Sharon. Where's Sharon? Stand up, Sharon. She gave me such a hard time. Where is Sharon? Where the hell is she? You could have both Sharon stand up, actually. Where are they? Both of them. Sharon is great. Oh, did they go after her? Whoa. You talk about, where's my other Sharon? Get the hell off stage, Sharon. Come on. She took a lot of incoming. Sharon, did you take some incoming? I think so, right? Get off stage. Get it. Come on, Papa. Thank you, darling. So we are going to do something that if I get elected, and again, they said he'd never run, now, and actually the pundits, the greatest thing, these guys that didn't even give me, they said, give me a break, not going to happen, he's a great business. One guy said, John McLaughlin, you ever watch the McLaughlin Report? I like him. And one of the people on the little group said, Donald Trump is a great businessman, but he'll never make it as a, president. He'll never get elected, he'll never make it. And John McLaughlin, this crusty guy, who I like. I don't know him. I never met him, I don't think. But I like, he's sitting there, he goes, and he got angry. He goes, why wouldn't he make it? You tell me, why? He's been a tremendous success at everything he's done. I go all over the world. I see his name. I see his name all over. He's had great success. And he said, I think this is the word, he's a man of great achievement. Why wouldn't he make it? And I thought it was so nice. And the other guy just sort of shut up. And, because you need somebody of great achievement. I produced tens of thousands of jobs over the year. I don't have to worry about Obamacare. I take such good care of my employees. I have thousands of employees. I take good care of them. We have great plans. My employees are lucky. They hit the lotto, okay? But I take great care. Education and health care. And my people are very happy. But I've done this for a long time. And I've seen ups and downs. I've seen market crashes. And I've seen friends of mine go bankrupt. I've never gone bankrupt. By the way, I've used the loss to my advantage in companies. I buy a company. I throw it into a chapter. I negotiate with banks. I kill, And then they say, Trump goes bankrupt. These people, they don't have any. Now, when other people do that, when a Carl does it, or they do it all the time. I mean, they use it all the time. It's called using your head. It's called using the laws. I did a good job, didn't I, in the debate when Chris Matthews so angrily said, and I do what every other great businessman does. I buy a company. One company was sort of interesting. A friend of mine had it, good guy, and the banks were just killing him. They were mean. And banks can be mean, right? You got to teach them how to behave, right? So this guy was just getting beaten. And I did him a favor, and I called up the banks. I said, do me this, do this, do this, do that. They said, we won't do that. No, we won't do that. I said, you're making a mistake. Anyway, it's sort of a little bit complicated, and it's a little unknown. Anyway, I bought it. Immediately, I called the bank. I said, don't do this. I threw it into a chapter. And they come out with a story, Trump files bankrupt. Can you believe it? I negotiated the hell. What I did to that bank, that poor bank. They see me walking down the street, they go, hey. But I'm good at that stuff, I'm really good at that stuff. But you have to use the laws to your advantage. No, you have to use it to your advantage. Atlantic City, you look at Atlantic City, Caesars went bankrupt. Caesars. Who ever heard of Caesar? Caesars filed Chapter 11. Nobody cares. You're right. Everybody in Atlantic City. I had the good sense 7 years ago, and actually the financial media gives me great credit because I have a vision for things. I said, don't go into Iraq, even though I'm a very militaristic person. I said, don't go into Iraq. And they shouldn't have, because I said, you're going to destabilize the Middle East. So what did we get? $2 trillion, thousands of deaths, thousands, like 5,000, wounded warriors who I love all over the place. We can't even go there. Iran is taking over Iraq. With the money that we're giving them, they're going to take over. They're going to get the oil. They're going to get everything. The oil they don't get, ISIS is getting. What did we get? Nothing. We got nothing. We got far less than nothing. So I had vision. In 2004, Reuters, actually it was before then, but they wrote a story. Trump says don't do Iraq. Now, I'm much more militaristic than Bush, even the brother, but you got to know where to use it and when. You got to use. So with Atlantic City, 7 years ago, I got out. That's called vision. I should get credit for vision. And again, this isn't bragging. Normally, I wouldn't say this, but I need your freaking votes. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Last night in front of the audience, I said, we're going to have so many victories. And then I said, we're going to win here. We're going to win on trade. We're going to win militarily in terms of not having wars, but just having such great strength that nobody's going to play with us. Nobody's going to mess with us. Okay, nobody. And we're going to have victories. So many victories are going to be coming out of your ears. In fact, you may get tired of victories. You may not want any more. You'll get like, oh, and everyone stood up. No, 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 we want to keep winning. If I win, we will have victories all over. We will win on trade. We will win on health care. We will win on everything. I will protect your Social Security without cuts. I will protect your Medicare and your Medicaid. We are going to have something that's so special. And you know, my whole theme is, and I'll say it once, we will make America truly great again. And thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, man. All day long he's been holding. Thank you. Thank you very much.